Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, this story I got for you is coming straight out of St. Louis. Again, one of my favorite cities, and I live here. And I want to talk about St. Louis City's population is dropping faster than any other major U.S. city today. And we're going to get into some statistics. We're talking about suburban flight, black suburban flight to North County, white suburban flight to South County and West County. So let's go. The mass exodus out of St. Louis City. Black suburban flight to North County and white suburban flight to St. Charles County, South County. St. Louis City has one of the worst, depressing, derelict downtowns in the United States. Monday through Friday after 5 p.m., downtown St. Louis looks like a ghost town. The St. Louis Landing is deplorable and vacant. Downtown St. Louis should have an entertainment district like Chicago's Michigan Avenue or West Loop. If there's not a Cardinals game, a Blues game, or a St. Louis City soccer game, the downtown St. Louis is dead and has no heartbeat. It is truly a depressing downtown for a mid-major city, and city tourism is suffering as a result. And what has made St. Louis City even worse on the eye was the devastating May 16, 2025 tornado that desecrated North St. Louis City. And of course, Mayor Kara Spencer and her administration has done very little to the recovery of North St. Louis City and or created any viable heartbeat to downtown St. Louis, where she works at City Hall in downtown St. Louis. I think downtown St. Louis and the Landing look the way they do by design. The powers to be want downtown St. Louis to look heartbeatless. West and South County suburban sprawl has made a lot of people rich. The only hope I see in the future is a regentrification from 14th and Cass all the way to Delmar, Page, Martin Luther King, Natural Bridge to Union. That catchment will change in the next 10 years, mainly due to two things. The new NGA facility at Cass and Jefferson, the National Geospace facility. It's an $11 billion institution, and the devastating destruction of last year's tornado. White developers are going to redevelop the JVL, the Ville on the cheap, and take the properties legally under eminent domain. Vashon High School sits right in that corridor, and it will change and or be gone. Vashon doesn't own the land that the school is on. That will eventually become a problem for the vibrancy of Vashon staying strong. White folks are going to move back to the city within the next 5 to 10 years. Just wait, watch, and see. But until then, St. Louis City is falling apart day by day under the watchful finger pointing and eye watching of Mayor Kara Spencer. Mayor Spencer, let your actions speak louder than your words. So let's also get into why St. Louis City is one of the fastest cities dropping its population year by year, or day by day, month by month, year by year. Once home to nearly 800,000 residents in 1950, St. Louis City's population has dwindled to just under 280,000 folks. Listen to these numbers. These are real. Statistics don't lie. Numbers don't lie. A loss of nearly 65% over 7 decades. So when you're talking about some of our parents who are in their 80s, they grew up in the Ville, went to Sumner, and the JVL, went to Central or Vashon High School. From our parents, one generation away, this entire community, St. Louis City, has changed and been flipped on its head at 360 degrees. The recent pace is actually accelerating the decline. the city lost 7.7% of its population from 2020 to 2025, ending at 278,144 residents, worse than the 5.6 decline over the prior decade, which was 2010 through 2020. That ranks St. Louis first among all U.S. cities in percentage population loss from 2020 to 2024, taking the top spot from San Francisco, California. St. Louis lost an estimated 21,700 residents during those 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. The city's population was 301,371 in 2020. So what are the core drivers to this population decline? It's the city-county split, a structural trap. This is the root cause most others draw from. While other cities like Kansas City annexed around 250 square miles between 1940 and up to 1980 to keep their tax base, St. Louis City lost population to St. Louis County and dozens of suburban municipalities. A historian noted that that line separates resources and causes complications that other cities don't have. So what else? Families fleeing for good schools and safety. The decline is closely tied to the loss of families with children. Young families are leaving for suburban communities with better assets like parks and schools. Then, with fewer of those families in the city, those things get worse. Between 2010 and 2020, the city of St. Louis lost over 32,000 residents through migration, including roughly 27,000 Black residents and 5,000 white residents as middle-class families relocated to St. Louis County or St. Charles County in search of more space, lower crime rates, and better educational opportunities. What is the doom loop? The doom loop economy. The doom loop economy. So the city faces a doom loop scenario. Doom loop, a cycle in which job losses, business closures, and a shrinking tax base reinforce each other. Schools have experienced declining enrollment, resulting in closures and consolidations, while aging infrastructure continues to deteriorate with fewer resources for repair. The Show Me Institute also cites the city's earning tax on workers and residents as a problem. Higher sales tax districts and an onerous business climate as compounding factors. Then from a business and a corporate standpoint, there's been a mass exodus also. Once a major regional business center, mergers and sales of giant St. Louis companies like McDonnell Douglas, TWA, Southwestern Bell, and Purina lessened their workforce and presence in St. Louis City. So, the suburbs keep winning. The broader St. Louis metro area actually grew by over 3,000 residents. That's the metro area in 2025, with the largest gains in St. Charles County, about a positive of 3,909 people, meaning people aren't leaving the region, they're just leaving St. Louis City itself. So from the feedback from the loop, or in conclusion, the problems developed gradually over decades through population loss, economic decline, political fragmentation, failing infrastructure, weakened schools, shrinking public trust, and leadership focused more on political battles than long-term solutions. Doesn't that sound like the politics of St. Louis City today? I'm going to repeat that again. It says, in conclusion, or I say in conclusion, the problems developed gradually over decades through population loss, economic decline, political fragmentation, hello, Mayor Kara Spencer, failing infrastructure, hello, Mayor Kara Spencer, weaken schools. Hello, Mayor Kara Spencer and the superintendent of the St. Louis public school system. Shrinking public trust and leadership focus more on political battles and long-term solutions. Each departure makes the next one more likely. Fewer taxpayers means worse services, which drive out more residents. So, the city is now pursuing immigration as a partial remedy, aiming to attract 2,000 new immigrants in 2025 and 15,000 by 2030, alongside zoning reforms to legalize accessory dwelling units and expand multi-unit housing, but reversing 70 years of structural and political decline. That is a tall order to change in the near future. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.